This is the big one. This is the beginning of the end of the nightmare that Justin Baldoni has faced the last year and change.
I clearly state that the backlash against Blake was organic and that Melissa Nathan never did anything wrong, because that is the truth.
Blake Lively just got destroyed after her latest legal stunt backfired in court, with the judge shutting her down on the spot. Her so-called smoking gun evidence collapsed into a mess of shady stories and flipped testimonies. Even Ryan Reynolds' desperate PR spin couldn't save her from total embarrassment.
A rumor is growing fast that Robert Downey Jr. is having trouble on the set of his new Avengers film with Ryan Reynolds.
Blake Lively thought she was about to pull off the biggest mic drop in court this summer of 2025, and instead the judge basically told her to sit down and shut up. I mean, you couldn't script this any better. She walks into court with this dramatic new filing, thinking it's going to be her big smoking gun moment against Justin Baldoni, and the whole thing just implodes in her hands. The irony here is painful.
Now it all hinges upon Blake Lively trying to unearth this idea that Justin smeared her. But every sort of indication is that he was a pretty good boss.
Then you add James Vushka into the mix, and this circus goes into overdrive. This guy was a reporter for the Daily Mail, and in June 2025, he swore under oath that he never heard Leslie Sloan, Blake's own publicist, accuse Justin Baldoni of anything on set. That should have been the end of it, right? Wrong. Because a couple of weeks later, he completely flipped. Suddenly, he's filing a brand new statement saying the Daily Mail basically forced him to sign the first one, and that Friedman's camp lied about him being a source. So now we got sworn statement number 1 directly contradicting sworn statement number 2, and everyone is left wondering if this guy is just incompetent or if someone's pulling his strings behind the scenes.
Former Daily Mail reporter James Vituska, you can see it right here, sent an email and he laid out how Taylor Swift's publicist knew what was going on. Taylor wanted nothing to do with it.
And his new statement wasn't just a casual, oops, my bad. He went full scorched earth. He said, and I quote, "They cost me my job, reputation, and career." That's not just a walk back. That's basically announcing to the court that he's ready to sue Brian Friedman himself. He literally spelled out that he's lost his employment, lost his standing as a journalist, and is now ready to torch everybody who dragged him into this mess. If you're Blake, you probably thought, jackpot, this guy just handed us the win. But again, no. Because the judge isn't stupid. He's looking at a guy who swore one thing in June, swore the opposite a few weeks later, and now wants everyone to take his word as gospel. That's not a smoking gun. That's just a messy witness who can't keep his story straight. And it makes Blake look even worse, because she's the one rushing to shove his second statement in front of the judge like it's ironclad proof.
But what we do know is Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, his credibility has been at stake when he said Blake Lively was extorting Taylor Swift. He withdrew the subpoena of Taylor Swift, probably because he has all this information. Why subpoena for a bunch of information if they give you exactly what you need?
And then came the ultimate humiliation. Judge Lyman destroying Blake's timing. She runs into court waving around Vushka's new affidavit like she just uncovered Watergate, and the judge straight up tells her, "Not your time to speak." That's it. Brutal. The court made it crystal clear. She had to wait for Brian Friedman's response first. No shortcuts, no sneak attacks. Her entire dramatic filing was struck from the record. Imagine thinking you're about to deliver the knockout punch, and instead, the judge benches you before you even throw it. That's Blake right now. She's impulsive, unprepared, and completely out of her depth.
Everything that she's feeding to James Vitushka is a way to try and smear Justin Baldoni.
The comparison here is hilarious. Blake clearly sees herself as Elle Woods marching into Harvard Law with a pink briefcase, dropping truth bombs that nobody can ignore. But the reality? The judge treated her like a freshman who interrupted class to read Wikipedia out loud. It's embarrassing. And honestly, it's deserved. Because if you're going to try and weaponize someone like James Vushka, who literally can't decide which sworn statement he believes, then you deserve to get clowned by the judge.
People trying to discredit James Vituska. James Vituska made a statement this week that changed his word, which essentially means he's not credible. But why did he change his word? Why is he now supporting Blake Lively when privately in the past he was supporting this notion that Blake was slamming Justin Baldoni and accusing him of all these things.
So let's talk about Leslie Sloan, because if Blake Lively is the face of this disaster, Sloan is the puppet master pulling the strings. Screenshots show her spoon-feeding James Vushka dirt about Justin Baldoni like it was an all-you-can-eat buffet of lies. She was telling him everyone hated Justin on set. He took control of everything. No love from cast. Really? Everyone hated him? Funny how not a single cast member has gone on record saying that. But Sloan is just out here spinning fairy tales to anyone who will listen. This is supposed to be Blake's top-tier publicist, the kind who protects her client's image. But instead, she's running around planting trash stories like it's some low-budget gossip blog.
Well, some believe James Vituska changed his tune because he was lured into, false promises or whatever on Blake Lively's side. Blake Lively as a offensive, I know, get your tinfoil hat on.
And then comes the email that takes the cake. Sloan actually says Justin shouldn't be directing abuse scenes because a man shouldn't decide everything. That's a direct quote from her communication. So let me get this straight. Justin Baldoni shouldn't direct scenes from a book adaptation he literally helped bring to the screen because he's a man? Meanwhile, Blake is out here demanding full control, inserting her husband Ryan into the creative process like some unpaid Marvel intern. The hypocrisy is disgusting. Sloan is using this fake feminist angle as cover for a smear campaign, pretending it's about women's voices, when in reality, it's about making Justin look like a monster to protect Blake's brand.
He said, Sloan and I discussed Justin Baldoni multiple times, and the information she provided was used in several published stories in the Daily Mail.
But here's where it gets really convenient. Sloan makes sure to absolve Ryan Reynolds in her little info dumps. She literally says, Ryan had nothing to do with this, except writing the rooftop scene. Oh, so Ryan had nothing to do with this? Except that he was directly involved in shaping the movie? What a joke. They're pretending he's this innocent bystander while he's sneaking into scripts, whispering in Blake's ear, and controlling the PR narrative. Sloan basically bent over backwards to protect him, probably because she knows Ryan's image is the only thing they have left. Deadpool needs to stay untarnished, right? But the truth is, the moment you see Ryan's name in these behind-the-scenes shenanigans, you realize he's been part of the machine all along.
And then she added, we cannot use this, but Ryan had nothing to do with this. She's pointing out specifically that Ryan had nothing to do with this. She forgot to say except writing that rooftop scene and being responsible for the promotion of the film.
And this is where the hypocrisy just becomes laughable. Blake and Ryan keep crying about being smeared, about Justin supposedly running some PR campaign against them, when Sloan was literally planting anti-Justin stories in the Daily Mail, in People, in TMZ, all the big outlets. She's feeding headlines like Cast Hates Baldoni and Justin oversteps on set. And then Blake pretends she's the victim of bad press. No, Blake, you are the bad press. You and Ryan have turned this into a full-time job, and Sloan is your delivery system. The only people running a smear campaign here are the ones crying about being smeared.
The only thing that they did, that they have evidence of what that they did, was to push Justin Baldoni's narrative that he's not a bad guy.
And then we get Isabella Ferrer, the 24-year-old actress who played young Blake in It Ends With Us. If there's one person caught in the middle of this mess, it's her. But at this point, the sympathy is running dry. Because Isabella had no problem accepting a subpoena from Blake's side, but when Justin's lawyers tried to subpoena her, suddenly she's dodging it like it's the plague. Funny how that works, right? She's willing to testify for Blake, but not for Justin. If that doesn't scream bias, I don't know what does.
They might be. People are calling Isabel Ferrer and Blake Lively frauds. That by the two-face sort of commentary she gave to Baldoni and is now clearly supporting Blake Lively.
And the craziest part is, this is the same Isabella who, while filming, couldn't stop praising Justin Baldoni. She was gushing about him like he was the best director alive. She literally called the set a safe space, said it was a wonderful, life-changing experience. These aren't vague compliments. These are direct words she put in writing. She texted Justin, "I couldn't have asked for a more welcoming environment. It will stay with me forever." That's the kind of thing you say about someone who gave you your big break, who made you feel respected and valued on set.
Some that are saying that Isabel is a victim of Blake Lively's and she's being rewarded for her silence. Some are saying that she's just as bad as Blake. And what does this all come from? This week came out of nowhere.
And now she's under Blake's wing, suddenly flipping sides, refusing to testify, and acting like she never sent those texts. Critics are already calling her Isabel a fraud. And honestly, it fits. Because at best, she's being manipulated by Blake and Ryan, and at worst, she's playing both sides to protect her career. Either way, her credibility is shot. If you once wrote that a director created a safe space and changed your life, and then months later you refuse to testify because it doesn't fit Blake's narrative, people are gonna see through that.
Her new name is Isabel Farad.
It's ridiculous.
Farad. What a fraud. And again, look, she's a young woman and you make mistakes. She's only 24 or something like that. So
26.
I want her to be forgiven after she does the right thing.
But the real nuclear bomb in this mess came from James Vitusa, and that leaked email dated May 28th, 2025. In it, he flat out says Blake Lively allegedly tried to blackmail Taylor Swift into backing her claims. That's not gossip, that's not spin, that's a direct accusation. According to Vitusa, Blake tried to pull Taylor into this circus, and it was Taylor's dad, Scott Swift, who blocked the move and immediately informed Brian Friedman's team. That alone should have ended Blake's career right there. Trying to drag Taylor Swift into your failing legal war? That's career suicide.
A situation in which a woman falsely accused a man of harassment, knowing that would be Blake Lively accusing Justin Baldoni, knowing that this did not occur, and also knowing that it would destroy his life. She did this to save her own reputation, which was tarnished by her own doing. Sloan played into this by feeding me false information to try and save her client.
But it gets even messier, because Vitusa claims his source for all this is none other than Tree Payne, Taylor Swift's powerhouse publicist. He says Tree herself gave him the information. If that's true, and if Tree testifies under oath, Blake is done, finished. Because Tree Payne doesn't play games, she's been running Taylor's PR like Fort Knox for years, and if she puts her name on something, it's bulletproof. The fact that Blake allegedly tried to extort her own kid's godmother into supporting her is already disgusting enough. But if Tree goes on the record, that's not just bad optics, that's a career-ending torpedo.
Sloan played into this by feeding me false information to try and save her client. Sloan is a liar, and if I were to agree to these terms, all it would do is paint me as the dishonest one. It would also throw Nathan, Abel, and Baldoni under the bus, and that is not something that I am willing to do.
And here's why Taylor has stayed so silent through all of this. She's protecting herself, keeping her distance, and making sure she's not dragged into Blake's drama. If you've noticed, Taylor hasn't been out there publicly defending Blake at all. Not a tweet, not an Instagram post, not a subtle lyric, nothing. She's distancing herself because she knows Blake's story doesn't add up. And if you're Blake, that's your worst nightmare. Because when even your so-called best friend won't stick her neck out for you, everyone knows something stinks.
She tried to extort the godmother of her children to save herself from an image tarnished by her own actions and lied about Swift's involvement. Swift's father, Scott, stopped Lively's extortion attempt on his daughter. I broke this exclusive this week. Swift's rep, Tree Payne, is my source.
Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds is probably seething in the background, realizing that even his Hollywood connections can't fix this. He can call in favors, he can pump out as many puff pieces as he wants, but he can't make Taylor Swift endorse Blake. He can't make Tree Payne lie under oath. And he can't stop the fact that Blake looks more desperate by the day. Ryan's entire shtick has always been about being the clever guy who's always in on the joke. But now, the joke's on him. Because he's standing by while his wife's empire crumbles, and there's nothing he can do but watch Deadpool reruns and hope people forget.
for a bunch of information if they give you exactly what you need. This explains why Taylor Swift has not publicly done anything to support Blake Lively. She clearly has information we don't that confirms her belief that Blake Lively made this all up.
Ryan Reynolds' silent hand is probably the worst kept secret in this whole saga. You can see his fingerprints all over the PR stunts. Sham subpoenas that look like they were cooked up in the same office that writes Deadpool punchlines. Planted organic backlash stories that magically appear in tabloids right when Blake is having a meltdown in court. It's not organic at all. It's Ryan trying to run a narrative machine like it's another one of his little side hustles. The guy thinks if he can sell gin and a phone plan with memes, he can spin a federal case with the same formula. You can't. Court filings don't get swayed by Twitter jokes. Judges don't care if you trend on Instagram. And then comes the money trail. Reynolds allegedly bankrolled Isabella Ferrer's legal help, which explains why she was suddenly resistant to Baldoni's subpoenas, but oh so happy to accept one from Blake. That doesn't happen for free. You think a 24-year-old actress just casually hires a team of lawyers to dodge court orders? Please. That's Ryan's wallet at work, making sure Blake's mini-me doesn't say anything that contradicts the fairy tale narrative they've built. It's the kind of behind-the-scenes play Deadpool would brag about in a fourth wall break. But in real life, it looks shady as hell.
She can run for office, not president, not yet at least. I mean, someone made the comparison. She's the same age as Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary for Trump. So she ain't young. She's playing dumb. Absolutely. This is Ellsrich, by the way, calling her out.
She could vote. She could go to war. She could get a rental car. She's not a young woman. She knows what she's doing.
And then there's the most obvious move of all, flooding the internet with fluff every time the legal news goes bad. Blake loses a filing. Suddenly, there's a new headline about her signing on to some upcoming movie that doesn't even have a script. Judge slaps her down. Paparazzi photos of her and Ryan walking hand in hand through New York like the perfect couple drop online within hours. It's like clockwork. The strategy is clear. Distract the public, bury the bad press under a mountain of fake feel-good stories. But it's so transparent now that even fans are laughing at it. They see the pattern. They know the photo ops are timed. It's not clever PR anymore. It's desperation. The roast here writes itself. Ryan is literally playing Deadpool in real life, trying to break the algorithm like it's a final boss battle. But unlike Marvel, there's no script to save Blake. He can't improve his way out of a judge's order. He can't charm the court with sarcasm. And the more he tries, the more pathetic it looks. This isn't the wisecracking anti-hero. This is a husband in panic mode, throwing memes at a wildfire and praying it goes out.
To Katie, saying that Tree Payne, Taylor Swift's publicist, that's also a very known publicist.
Now, let's look at the bigger PR tricks and smear campaigns, because this is where the hypocrisy goes from annoying to flat out embarrassing. Blake's camp actually demanded to see Jed Wallace's celebrity client list, claiming they wanted to prove a pattern of smear campaigns. They wanted to dig through his private Rolodex and see if they could embarrass other celebrities just to strengthen their case. That's not strategy, that's a fishing expedition with no bait. And of course, the judge wasn't impressed. Meanwhile, Blake keeps accusing Justin of SEO manipulation. She claims his side was planting positive stories about him online to drown out her version of events, as if pushing good press about yourself is some evil conspiracy. This is Hollywood. That's literally how PR works. But here's the kicker. While she's crying about SEO manipulation, her own team is planting puff pieces about her new projects that never materialize. She signs on to some film, conveniently leaks the headline, gets a week of positive coverage, and then the movie never happens. She's been attached to the same vaporware projects for 8 years and counting. But somehow Justin is the manipulative one? Please. Even TMZ, the king of sensationalism, admitted in mid-2025 that Cass doesn't hate Justin, this feud is being milked for publicity. When TMZ is out here fact-checking you, you know you've lost control of the narrative. TMZ, the outlet that will run with anything if it gets clicks. And even they're calling out the exaggerations. That's how deep into delusion Blake and Ryan have gone. Their smear tactics are so obvious that even the tabloid world doesn't want to carry the water for them anymore. And the bottom line is brutal. Every single PR stunt Blake pulls ends up boomeranging. Instead of making her look like a victim, it makes her look obsessed with her image, willing to torch anyone in her way just to look good for one more headline cycle. She doesn't look strong. She doesn't look like a survivor. She looks like a Brandon freefall, being kept alive by cheap tricks and Ryan's tired gimmicks. Which brings us to the house of cards that Blake and Ryan have built, and how it's collapsing faster than they can patch it. Let's take stock. Blake's legal tactics have been one disaster after another. Collapsed filings, withdrawn letters, judges literally telling her to shut up in open court, allies like James Vushka flipping under oath and making her look even more unstable. That's not strength, that's chaos. And every misstep gets amplified because Ryan is out here desperately trying to spin it.
Blake Lively, as an offensive, would have wanted James Ratuska to be incredible, non-credible, because she would know that he's got essentially a smoking gun.
But Ryan's PR spin can't hide the cracks anymore. The public sees through the power couple act. They know the PEP walks are staged. They know the movie signings are fake. They know the jokes are hollow. Hollywood's golden couple doesn't look golden anymore. They look like amateurs playing at being masterminds. And the more they pretend to be untouchable, the more obvious their vulnerability becomes. And here's the worst part for them. The trial isn't even until March 2020, so we're still months away from the main event. And Blake's credibility is already in tatters. She's not walking into that courtroom with momentum. She's crawling in, weighed down by her own failed tactics. Ryan can try to plaster over it with memes and PR stunts, but by the time the trial starts, the public will already have made up their minds. Blake looks desperate. Ryan looks manipulative. Together, they look like the poster children for Hollywood hypocrisy. Roast close? Easy. Hollywood's golden couple tried to play chess. They thought they were masterminds, moving pieces on some 3D board, staying 10 steps ahead. In reality, every move they've made has looked like checkers, and they're not even good at that. They're losing to their own pawns. Isabella flipping, Vushka imploding, Sloane exposing herself, Tree Pain lurking in the shadows. These aren't opponents Blake and Ryan can outwit. These are their own allies turning into liabilities, and watching them scramble to cover it all up is the best show in town.